We're here this morning with Rolly Brown, who teaches guitar in the Lehigh Valley area of Pennsylvania and who has a profile on FindaGuitarTeacher.com. Good morning, Rolly. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm looking forward to talking with you about your guitar teaching. First of all, I mentioned Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. Can you tell viewers of the interview a little more specifically where you teach?
Yeah, so basically, my office is in a little town called Percy, and this area is about halfway between Philadelphia and Allentown. So people in Philadelphia can get here in about 45 minutes. People from South Jersey can get here in less than an hour. And people from Allentown area can also get here. So it's pretty located within a pretty large population area, and there's a lot of people who can get over.
Yeah, I noticed when I checked where you were on a map how close you are to the New Jersey border, so you can really get people from all different directions.
Yeah, I have people who drive up from the shore sometimes, for a lesson maybe once a month or something like that.
That's wonderful. And can you tell us a little bit more? I notice in your recording that you focus very much on the acoustic guitar. Do you teach exclusively acoustic guitar?
Yeah, I wouldn't say exclusively, but I'd say about 90%. And
okay.
A lot of the stuff which I teach, which falls into the realm of jazz, is easily applicable to electric guitar in the sense of like an ES-175 or an archtop.
Right.
Not so much rock and roll, and that's just not my, I played a certain amount of it. For people who play electric guitar, if they want to just understand how to play blues, then that's certainly well within the scope of what I teach, because that's what I came up playing myself, folk and blues, before I went into jazz. But if somebody wants to learn how to handle a pedal board and the intricacies of playing a guitar with pickups where you have to control overtones and stuff like that very carefully, just not my cup of tea.
Of course. And can you tell us, you mentioned blues and some jazz. Can you mention the different styles of acoustic guitar that you teach students?
Yeah, so I came up, started out as a folk guitarist who wanted to sound like early Bob Dylan and Peter, Paul and Mary, and playing kind of in this constant bass style.
Right.
And I still teach a lot of that. That stuff is always available to people. And then what happened was I gradually morphed over into playing acoustic blues, and starting with maybe the Lightning Hopkins sound, which would be kind of a... that kind of stuff.
Right.
After that, in the... around 1970, I had the great good fortune of meeting the Reverend Gary Davis, who was one of the great ragtime blues guitarists. And so I got to spend a little time with him, and that style has a little more kind of piano sound to it, where you might get something like, you get a little bit of counterpoint and things moving around.
Right.
That. So all of those things are part of what I teach. During that time also, I listened a lot to the British guitarists like Davy Graham and Bert Jansch and John Renbourn. And in fact, I did a DVD instructional on the style of Bert Jansch for Stefan Grossman's Guitar Workshop. So there's some of that stuff. I don't do a whole lot of open tuning stuff, but things in drop D and occasionally something in dadgad I can teach.
Right. Yes, and I saw in your Find a Guitar Teacher profile that you mentioned the series of DVDs that you've done. Are those available to kind of a list of what you've done and the styles that you've taught on the DVDs? Are those available to see on your website?
Yeah, you can see a lot of that on my website. You can also go to guitarvideos.com, which is the Stefan Grossman Guitar Workshop website, and then you can look under artists and pick my name, and it'll have the whole list of them. And for each of them, there's like maybe a 10 to 15 minute excerpt, which you can see on YouTube, and so you can get an idea of how I teach. In addition, I have a YouTube channel, and you can just search my name. And what started out doing a lot of instructional stuff on YouTube just for the heck of it, and that's what ended up. Stefan saw that and thought it would make good stuff for his business, so we've been doing it with him.
That's wonderful. And it's great to hear you play the little bits of the songs that you've been playing so far. Would you like to play something a little more extended, maybe like a minute or so? Could be a song of your own that you enjoy playing, or it would be just great to hear you play a little bit longer.
Okay, yeah, I'll play you a little bit of a piece I wrote. Every Sunday morning for the last 4.5 years, I've put up a short music video on Facebook. And they're usually just a tune. I'd either improvise it or I would do something that I've written. And after 4.5 years, I've pretty much run out of stuff, I know. So I improvise a lot. This one started out as an improvisation and ended up becoming a tune and ended up on one of my CDs. So it's called Salvo I Pepe, and I'll just play you maybe one verse of it. Okay.
Sounds great.
That's just kind of one verse of an original tune.
That's beautiful, Rolly. And you said that was called Salvo I Pepe?
Salvo I Pepe, yeah. It's named after two fictional European detectives from detective fiction.
Oh, really? That's a great title, and it's a beautiful song.
Thank you. Thanks.
And I saw on your website that your most recent CD is called Sunday Mornings. I think
right.
Kind of using the Sunday morning uploads that you've done as inspiration for as the material for the tracks of the CD.
Yeah, exactly. After I did that for a year or so, people started saying, "So when are you going to do the CD?" And I said, "Oh no, now I have to do a CD too." So, but over time, we ended up putting it together, and it came out real nicely.
That's wonderful. And I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your guitar lessons. One thing I forgot to ask a little earlier: do all your students come to you?
Yes, I do not travel to teach, although I do Skype lessons.
Yes.
And I also have a thing called a quick take lesson, which you can find access to on my website, in which people might buy a lesson, which I make a short video and send them to solve a specific problem. But mostly I teach, privately at my office. During the summers, I teach at guitar camps around the country, and I've done a number of those for the last 15 years or so. So I teach large classes there. But when I teach here in my office in Percy, I teach privately, hour lessons, $60 an hour, and they're really geared towards helping the student learn what they want to learn. So if somebody contacts me, and for example, you asked about electric guitar earlier, if they say, well, I want to learn how to play, just like Steve Vai or something like that, I'm going to say, I'm not the right guy for you.
Right.
But if they say, I'd like to learn something more in the Joe Pass line, or if they want to learn how to play like Reverend Gary Davis, what I'll try to do is really find out what they want to learn and help them learn it. And in doing that, I want to help them in a way that not only teaches them note-for-note arrangements by somebody who they like. In fact, I pretty much avoid that in a lot of ways, except with somebody like Gary Davis, where the style is so iconic that you want to get a real special thing. For the most part, I want them to understand the nuts and bolts of how music works, so that I talk a lot at camps when I teach about the difference between reciting and speaking. And so there are some people who have a hard time learning to improvise or learning to speak on the guitar, to just speak fluidly. And instead, they can only recite, which is like memorizing something and then playing it. One of my big goals is to help people get past that so that they can just pick up the guitar and play and have what is in their mind come out. And that's a long road, and it involves some infrastructure, learning lots of chords and some scales, and you know, but it's a great road to be on. So
you've really just described what the musical journey is, really. If you're on it and you're getting deeper into the guitar, that's what it's all about, and it can take a lifetime to get there.
yeah, and you saying the word journey is important because there's a big difference between people who want to know how to play the guitar and people who want to learn how to play the guitar.
Yes.
And usually the people who just want to know how to play the guitar are not going to last for very long. So it's another thing which I'd love students before they come to me or to any teacher to be sure that you have to fall in love with the process. And you know, if not, then it's probably not going to go that well for you. I don't care whether a student is a rank beginner, they can not know anything about the guitar, or whether they're an advanced and even a professional player. What I care about is their attitude. And if they have an open attitude to learning, and are really passionate about it, then I'm glad to be helping them on that journey.
Of course. And I wanted to ask, you mentioned on your Find a Guitar Teacher profile that you generally teach ages teenage and up, that you don't teach children so much.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I think most children, like there's a very rare case, and I've run into a couple of them, where you get a kid who actually knows what they want to do already, you know. But more often it would be a youngster who wants to learn how to play like his rock and roll heroes, and his parents say, first you have to learn the acoustic guitar, you know. like one of the things I hate is when somebody says to me, they say, well, I really want to learn how to play, you know, folk music. I want to sound like Dave Van Ronk, or I want to sound like Bert Jansch, but first I should learn classical. And that to me is like the antithesis of like, let's take something you're not passionate about and teach you that instead of what you're passionate about. So for me, I go for the passion and the shortest distance to the goal.
Yes.
And that may involve them learning more than they actually set out to learn, but usually it'll be in a way that they go, oh yeah, I wanted this too. You know, I wanted these underpinnings of it.
Right. And I wanted to ask you, when you're with students, students are going to be interested in buying a new guitar, if they're a beginner or if they've been playing for a while, do you offer guidance to your students about what guitars to buy?
I absolutely do. And in fact, it's one of my it's a compulsion for me because I love buying guitars.
Yeah.
So I love helping other people find good guitars. And sometimes people contact me who I've met through camps or whatever, and they might be looking to spend $7,000 on a guitar, and I can help them find something really, really fine, like this is a great handmade guitar. And then sometimes people are like, well, I'm just starting out, and I can help them find first of all, the kind of price which they may not get if they just go into, you know, their local guitar store who is not discounting anything. And second of all, the guitars that are at a really low price point. And at this stage in time, boy, there's just great guitars. You can get a really great sounding guitar for $200 or $300, you know, and also advising people not to get a guitar for $70, because if you get a guitar for $300 and you end up not liking it, you can probably sell it for $250.
That's right.
Get a guitar for $70 and you don't like it, you might as well just hang it on the wall at the Cracker Barrel or something.
That's very true, Rolly. Well, we're going to be wrapping up the interview in a second, but I wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview. It's great to hear more about what you do, and great to hear you play. You mentioned the handmade guitar that you're playing. It sounds beautiful to listen to.
Yeah, thank you. I've been really lucky through traveling around and playing and teaching, I've met some really wonderful luthiers, and these guys just build great instruments. So I've been lucky that way.
That's wonderful. Well, I want to wish you best of luck in your music and in your guitar teaching. And thank you so much again for being here today. And we look forward to seeing you very soon on Find a Guitar Teacher.
Thanks a lot, James. It's been really nice talking to you.
Same here, Rolly. Have a good day. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.